They laughed. Those Tzenkethi bastards laughed as they rained fire on humanity's cities, hovering over Earth like vultures, eager to pick apart a carcass. But they were about to learn that even a dying animal could still bite. In the war room deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., the mood was grim. General Robert Wilson stared at the holographic display of the Tzenkethi fleet, his face a mask of determination even as casualty reports flooded in. Earth's weapons were useless against the aliens' advanced shields. They all knew that now, but there was still one desperate gambit left to play. Dr. Elena Novak burst into the room, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. "It's ready," she announced breathlessly. "The dark matter bomb. We have a functional prototype." The room erupted into chaos. Some argued that the untested weapon was too risky, that the potential for catastrophic side effects was too high. Others saw it as humanity's last hope for survival. Ultimately, the decision fell to General Wilson. He gave the order with a heavy heart, knowing full well that he could be dooming them all. But if there was even a chance that the dark matter bomb could turn the tide of the war, he had to take it. The future of the entire human race hung in the balance. As the prototype was loaded onto a stealth ship piloted by Captain Jake Maverick Anderson, Tzenkethi Emperor Vortis watched Earth on his view screen with a sneer. To him, it was just another primitive planet ripe for conquest. He had no idea of the desperate plan taking shape deep beneath the surface. Maverick rocketed towards the alien fleet, the dark matter bomb primed and ready in his ship's hold. He had only one chance to strike a blow that would echo through the cosmos. One chance to show the Tzenkethi the true strength of human resolve. Failure was not an option. Earth's survival depended on this single, daring strike. Maverick gripped the controls tighter, his jaw set with grim determination as he hurtled towards his target. It was time to show the aliens what humans were truly capable of. As Maverick's stealth ship raced through the void, the dark matter bomb nestled in its hold like a slumbering beast. The captain's eyes narrowed as he wove through the Tzenkethi fleet, their massive warships looming like obsidian monoliths against the starscape. With a flick of a switch, the ship's cloaking device engaged, rendering it invisible to the alien sensors. Maverick scanned the tactical display, searching for the perfect target. There, a Tzenkethi colony on a nearby moon, its sprawling structures and bustling spaceports, a vital hub for the invaders' supply lines. He locked the coordinates into the targeting computer, his fingers flying over the controls with practiced precision. In the bowels of the stealth ship, the dark matter bomb hummed with restrained power, its obsidian core pulsing like a malevolent heart. Back on Earth, Dr. Novak and her team hunched over their monitors, making final adjustments to the weapon's arcane systems. Sweat beaded on their brows as they worked, the weight of humanity's fate bearing down on them. Maverick's finger hovered over the launch button, a silent prayer on his lips. He knew the risks, knew the untold devastation he was about to unleash. But with the survival of Earth hanging in the balance, there was no room for hesitation. He pressed the button, and the dark matter bomb leapt from the ship's hold like a vengeful spirit. The sleek projectile knifed through the void, its outer shell burning away to reveal the pulsating core within. It struck the heart of the Tzenkethi colony with a blinding flash, a momentary stillness engulfing the moon. Then a shockwave of pure darkness erupted from the impact site, a ravenous maelstrom that consumed everything in its path. Buildings crumbled like sand castles, vehicles tossed about like toys. Tzenkethi soldiers were torn apart at the molecular level, their anguished screams swallowed by the roar of the dark matter vortex. The very ground beneath the colony buckled and shattered, city blocks disappearing into the hungry maw of the singularity. The destruction spread like a cancer, engulfing the orbiting Tzenkethi warships in its inescapable grasp. Their hulls crumpled inward, crushed by forces beyond comprehension. Maverick watched the carnage unfold on his view screen, awe and horror mingling in his gut as the colony was reduced to a swirling wound on the moon's tortured surface. On the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Vortis gaped at the hell unleashed upon his forces. Frantic reports flooded in, babbling of an impossible weapon, a nightmare made manifest. As the dark matter vortex continued its inexorable growth, Vortis clenched his fists in rage, realizing the depths of human ingenuity and desperation. News of the successful strike spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the galaxy. On Earth, grim-faced leaders breathed a collective sigh of relief, even as they grappled with the terrifying implications of their new weapon. Dr. Novak and her team pored over the data, searching for any signs of instability or unintended consequences. Across the stars, alien races reacted with a potent mix of fear and fascination. Some saw the humans as dangerous wildcards, wielding a power they barely understood. Others whispered of potential alliances, recognizing Earth as a rising force to be reckoned with. As the Tzenkethi fleet reeled from the blow, Earth's forces marshaled for a counterattack. Armed with their dark matter arsenal, they prepared to strike at the invaders' key strongholds. The tide of the war had shifted, but the price of victory remained to be seen. On the stealth ship, Maverick slumped back in his chair, exhaustion and adrenaline warring within him. He had dealt the Tzenkethi a devastating blow, but he knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would not rest until they had unlocked the secrets of the dark matter bomb, or destroyed humanity in the process. The captain stared out at the stars, a grim purpose settling over him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on. Earth depended on him, on all of them, and he would not let his world down, no matter the consequences. The successful deployment of the dark matter bomb marked a turning point in humanity's struggle against the Tzenkethi. Within days, General Wilson mobilized Earth's remaining forces for a bold counteroffensive. At the heart of this new strategy was a fleet of stealth ships, each armed with the devastating weapon that had proven so effective in their first strike. Captain Jake Anderson stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. A dozen blinking dots represented his small but lethal strike force, poised to penetrate deep into enemy territory. "All ships, report in," he commanded, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. One by one, the captains of the other stealth ships confirmed their readiness. Anderson nodded, allowing himself a moment to appreciate the coordination and courage of his fellow pilots. "Remember the plan," he said. "We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stick around to admire our handiwork. Let's show these bastards what happens when they mess with Earth." The fleet engaged their cloaking devices and surged forward, slipping past the weakened Tzenkethi defensive lines with ease. Their first target, a massive shipyard orbiting a gas giant in the Proxima system. As they approached, Anderson marveled at the scale of the Tzenkethi operation. Dozens of half-built warships hung suspended in vacuum, surrounded by swarms of worker drones and supply craft. It was a testament to the aliens' industrial might and a priority target for Earth's counterattack. "We have a clean shot," reported his weapons officer. "No sign they've detected us." Anderson's finger hovered over the launch control. He thought of Earth, of the cities reduced to ash, of the millions dead, of everything that hung in the balance. He pressed the button. The dark matter bomb streaked towards the shipyard, a barely visible distortion against the starfield. It struck the central control hub with pinpoint accuracy. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to tear apart. A vortex of absolute darkness bloomed at the point of impact, hungrily devouring everything in its path. Tzenkethi ships, both completed and under construction, crumpled like paper toys as they were pulled into the singularity. Anderson watched in awe as the entire shipyard, a marvel of alien engineering, vanished into the hungry maw of the weapon they'd unleashed. "My God," whispered his first officer. But there was no time for reflection. Already alarms blared as the remaining Tzenkethi forces scrambled to respond. "All ships, break off and proceed to secondary targets," Anderson ordered. "You know the drill. Hit and fade." The human fleet scattered, each vessel racing towards its assigned objective. Over the next several hours, they struck with ruthless efficiency. Supply depots, military bases, and mining operations all fell prey to the dark matter bombs. Each detonation left behind a twisted scar in the fabric of space-time, a stark reminder of humanity's newfound power. As the raids continued, news of the devastation reached the Tzenkethi homeworld. In his opulent palace, Emperor Vortis raged at his subordinates, demanding explanations and solutions. "How is this possible?" he roared, hurling a holographic display across the room. These humans were on the brink of defeat, and now they rampage through our territory unchallenged? General Zardock, a scarred veteran of 100 campaigns, stepped forward. My Emperor, the humans have surprised us with the potency of their new weapon, but all is not lost. I have a plan to crush this insurgency and secure final victory for the Tsenkethi Empire. Vortis's eyes narrowed. Speak, Zardock, and pray your plan is worth the air you waste in telling it. The general outlined his strategy, a massive counteroffensive to overwhelm Earth's defenses, coupled with a covert operation to steal the secrets of the dark matter bomb. Vortis listened intently, his rage gradually replaced by cold calculation. Very well, the Emperor said at last. You have my authorization. Mobilize every ship, every soldier. I want Earth reduced to atoms, and I want the plans for their weapon in my hands. As Zardock bowed and hurried to implement his plan, Vortis turned to gaze out at the glittering expanse of his capital city. Soon, he vowed silently, the entire galaxy would kneel before the Tsenkethi, or share humanity's fate. Back on Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. Reports of Anderson's successful raids buoyed spirits, and for the first time since the invasion began, there was hope that victory might be possible. In her laboratory deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., Dr. Elena Novak worked tirelessly to refine the dark matter bomb technology. She pored over data from the recent attacks, searching for ways to increase the weapon's effectiveness while minimizing unintended consequences. A junior researcher burst into the lab, his face pale. Dr. Novak, you need to see this, he said, thrusting a tablet into her hands. Elena's eyes widened as she scrolled through the report. The dark matter bombs were having unforeseen effects on the fabric of space-time itself. Gravitational anomalies, spatial distortions, even localized time dilation. The list of phenomena grew with each detonation. We need to inform General Wilson immediately, she said, already moving towards the door. If these effects continue to cascade... She left the thought unfinished, but the implications were clear. In their desperate bid to save humanity, they might have set in motion events that could threaten the very structure of the universe. As Earth grappled with the consequences of its actions and the Tsenkethi prepared their counterstrike, a new player entered the cosmic chess match. On a distant world of crystalline spires and swirling nebulae, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Zara, a being of pure energy encased in a humanoid form, addressed the assembled representatives of 100 species. The conflict between Earth and the Tsenkethi Empire has escalated beyond acceptable parameters, she intoned. The use of dark matter weaponry poses a threat not just to the combatants, but to the stability of the entire galaxy. We must intervene. The council debated long into the night, weighing the risks of action against the perils of inaction. Finally, a consensus was reached. Ambassador Zara would travel to Earth, charged with brokering a peace before it was too late. As her ship streaked across the cosmos, Zara pondered the challenge that lay ahead. She would need all her diplomatic skill to navigate the mistrust and hatred between humans and Tsenkethi. And even if she succeeded, there was no guarantee that either side would be willing to relinquish their newfound power. The fate of galaxies hung in the balance, and time was running out. As Ambassador Zara's ship approached Earth, the planet's defenders were already locked in a desperate struggle against the Tsenkethi onslaught. Captain Anderson's stealth fleet darted through the chaos of battle, their dark matter bombs carving swaths of destruction through the alien armada. Target acquired, Anderson's weapons officer reported, her voice tense. Tsenkethi supply depot at 2 o'clock. Anderson nodded grimly. Fire! The bomb streaked away, a barely visible distortion against the star-flecked void. Moments later, a vortex of absolute darkness bloomed where the depot had been, swallowing Tsenkethi ships and supplies alike. But for every blow Earth's forces struck, the Tsenkethi answered tenfold. Their vast fleet seemed endless, a relentless tide of destruction sweeping aside humanity's outer defenses. On the lunar base, General Wilson stared at tactical displays awash in red. We're losing ground, he muttered, fingers digging into the command console. Anderson, pull back to Sector 7. We need to consolidate our forces. As Earth's defenders regrouped, the Tsenkethi pressed their advantage. Their ships hammered planetary defenses, raining plasma fire on cities and military installations. The skies above Earth burned with the fury of battle. Deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., Dr. Elena Novak worked feverishly to unlock new potential in the dark matter technology. She barely noticed when Dr. Marcus Cole entered the lab, his eyes darting nervously. "Elena, I need access to the primary containment protocols," Cole said, his voice strained. "It's urgent." Novak glanced up, frowning. "That's classified, Marcus. You know that." "Please," he insisted. "Lives depend on it." As Novak hesitated, neither scientist noticed the shadow that detached itself from the wall. Azari, the Tsinkethi infiltrator, poised to strike. In orbit, Captain Anderson's squadron made their desperate run at the Tsinkethi command ships. Alarms blared as enemy fire saturated space around them. "Shields failing!" Anderson's first officer shouted over the din. "We can't take much more of this." Anderson gritted his teeth, hands locked on the controls. "Stay on target," he growled. "We only get one shot at this." His finger hovered over the launch control. In that moment, the weight of humanity's survival pressed down on him like a physical force. He took a breath, steeling himself, and pressed the button. The dark matter bombs streaked away from the human ships, threads of midnight racing towards the heart of the Tsinkethi fleet. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. Then reality itself tore apart. Vortexes of absolute darkness blossomed among the Tsinkethi vessels. Warships crumpled like paper, pulled into oblivion. The flagship, a massive construct of alien technology, shuddered as dark tendrils wrapped around its hull. But even as the Tsinkethi command structure dissolved into chaos, the sheer numbers of their armada threatened to overwhelm Earth's defenses. Anderson watched in horror as the alien ships broke through, descending on his homeworld. "This is it," he whispered, staring at the streams of Tsinkethi fighters pouring towards Earth. "We've failed." Suddenly, explosions rippled across the enemy formation. Dark matter bombs, launched from concealed silos on the lunar surface, tore through the Tsinkethi ranks. Dozens, then hundreds of alien ships vanished into the hungry maw of weaponized darkness. As the tide of battle shifted once more, Anderson allowed himself a grim smile. They weren't beaten yet. But in the aftermath of their desperate victory, as the remains of the Tsinkethi fleet drifted in the void, the true cost of their actions became clear. The death toll was staggering, entire continents scarred by the fury of war. And as reports flooded in of spatial anomalies and gravitational distortions, Anderson couldn't shake the feeling that their triumph might have come at a terrible price. As the debris of battle drifted through Earth's orbit, a sleek vessel of unfamiliar design pierced the atmosphere. Its iridescent hull shimmered, effortlessly deflecting the scattered remains of Tsinkethi ships. Inside, Ambassador Zara stood motionless, her energy form pulsing with anticipation and concern. The ship touched down in what was once Washington, D.C., now a patchwork of craters and hastily erected military installations. General Wilson and Dr. Novak waited on the landing pad, their faces etched with exhaustion and weariness. Zara emerged, her humanoid form glowing softly in the twilight. "I come on behalf of the Galactic Council," she said, her voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "The situation has grown dire beyond measure." Wilson's eyebrows furrowed. "With all due respect, Ambassador, we're well aware of the situation. We've been fighting for our survival." Zara nodded, her luminous eyes scanning the ruined skyline. "And in doing so, you may have jeopardized far more than you realize." In a secure briefing room, Zara presented a holographic display of the galaxy. Pockets of swirling distortion marked the sites of dark matter bomb detonations. "The fabric of space-time is unraveling," Zara explained, her tone grave. "Each blast creates cascading anomalies. If unchecked, they could tear the galaxy apart." Dr. Novak leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Our simulations never predicted this level of instability. We thought the effects would be localized, containable." "I'm afraid the reality is far worse," Zara replied. "The Council implores you to cease all use of dark matter weaponry immediately." General Wilson pounded his fist on the table. "And leave Earth defenseless? The Tsenkethi would overrun us in days. There are other solutions, Zara began, but alarms suddenly blared throughout the compound. A junior officer burst into the room. Sir, we've just received a transmission from Emperor Vortis. You need to see this. The holographic display flickered, replaced by the imposing visage of the Tsenkethi ruler. His scaled skin glistened with hardly restrained rage. Humans, Vortis snarled, your pitiful resistance ends now. No alien meddlers will save you. The Tsenkethi Empire will reign supreme, and your world will burn for its insolence. The transmission cut off abruptly. Wilson turned to Zara, his expression grim. Still think we can talk our way out of this, Ambassador? Across the galaxy, in the glittering halls of the Tsenkethi Palace, Emperor Vortis paced restlessly. Holographic displays showed the deployment of his reformed battle fleets, poised to strike Earth once more. General Zardock approached, bowing low. My Emperor, I bring news from our operative. Vortis's eyes narrowed. Speak. Azari has successfully extracted vital data on the human's dark matter technology. Our scientists are already at work deciphering it. A cruel smile spread across Vortis's face. Excellent. Soon we will turn their own weapon against them. Redouble your efforts, Zardock. I want results, and quickly. Back on Earth, tensions within the military command reached a breaking point. General Hutchins, a hawkish veteran with a score of victories to his name, confronted Wilson in the war room. We can't trust these aliens, Hutchins growled, jabbing a finger at the star chart. While we sit here playing diplomat, the Tsenkethi are regrouping. We need to strike now, hit them with everything we've got. Wilson's face hardened. Stand down, Hutchins. We don't fully understand the consequences of these weapons. If the ambassador is right... The ambassador be damned, Hutchins roared. I won't let Earth fall because of some nebulous threat. If you won't give the order, I will. As the two generals faced off, klaxons suddenly blared throughout the facility. Dr. Novak's voice crackled over the intercom, panic evident in her tone. Security breach in Sector 7. Multiple dark matter warheads missing. We have a situation. In the shadows of a secret hangar, Silas Rhodes and his band of extremists worked feverishly to load the stolen bombs onto a retrofitted freighter. Rhodes's eyes gleamed with fanatical intensity as he sealed the last containment unit. With these, he whispered, we'll end this war once and for all. The Tsenkethi, the Council, the cowards in command, they'll all see the true power of humanity unleashed. As the freighter's engines roared to life, the fate of galaxies hung in the balance. The dark matter genie was out of the bottle, and no one could predict where its chaotic power would lead. The freighter's engines roared to life, vibrating through the hangar as Silas Rhodes watched his team secure the last of the stolen dark matter bombs. His eyes gleamed with a mixture of triumph and madness. Prepare for launch, Rhodes barked into his comm. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. As the freighter lifted off, alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Anderson's voice crackled over the emergency channels. All units, we have a code black. Dark matter weapons have been compromised. I repeat, code black. In the command center, General Wilson banged his hand on the console. How the hell did this happen? I want every available resource tracking that ship. Dr. Novak rushed in, her face pale. General, it's worse than we thought. They took the entire stockpile. If those bombs detonate... I know, Wilson cut her off. Get back to your lab. Find a way to neutralize those weapons. Ambassador Zara stood silently, her energy form pulsing with concern. This changes everything, she said softly. Hours later, a transmission cut through on all frequencies. Rhodes's face filled screens across Earth and beyond. To the cowards of Earth and the meddling Galactic Council, he sneered, you sought to rob humanity of its destiny. No more. We possess the power to reshape the cosmos, and we will use it. Withdraw all attempts at disarmament, or watch as we unleash our fury on world after world. In the Tsenkethi Palace, Emperor Vortis watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. Zardock, he hissed, contact this human. His fanaticism may prove useful. General Zardock bowed low. As you command, my Emperor. Captain Anderson's stealth squadron shadowed Rhodes's freighter, maintaining a wary distance. Hold position, Anderson ordered. We can't risk engaging. One stray shot could set off those bombs. On the bridge of Rhodes' ship, a Tsinkethi transmission came through. The rogue commander's lip curled in disgust, but he listened as General Zardock made his offer. An alliance, Rhodes spat, with aliens? A mutually beneficial arrangement, Zardock replied smoothly. Our cloaking technology for a share of your arsenal. Think of the power you would wield. Rhodes hesitated, his human supremacist ideology warring with pragmatism. Finally, he nodded. Very well, but cross me, and I'll turn your homeworld into a singularity. As the unholy alliance took shape, Dr. Marcus Cole slipped deeper into the shadows of betrayal. He transmitted the coordinates of a remote human outpost to his Tsinkethi handlers, his hands shaking. Perfect, Rhodes grinned when he received the data. Time for a demonstration. The dark matter bomb streaked towards the unsuspecting outpost. In a heartbeat, reality itself shredded. Where a thriving base had stood, only a swirling vortex of nothingness remained. Shockwaves of horror rippled through the human and alien worlds alike. Ambassador Zara's urgent pleas echoed in the chambers of both General Wilson and Emperor Vortis. This madness must end, she implored. The very fabric of space-time hangs in the balance. For the first time in generations, human and Tsinkethi eyes met not with hatred, but with grim understanding. A temporary ceasefire was declared, all efforts now focused on stopping Rhodes before he could strike again. Captain Anderson's scouts finally pinpointed Rhodes's hidden base. As human and Tsinkethi strike teams prepared for their unprecedented joint assault, the weight of galaxies pressed down upon them all. The dropships descended through the turbulent atmosphere, their hulls glowing red-hot from the friction. Inside, Captain Anderson gripped his rifle tightly, his gaze sweeping over the mixed human and Tsinkethi strike team. The alien warriors' scaled skin glistened in the dim light, their eyes narrowed in concentration. 30 seconds to touchdown, the pilot's voice crackled over the comm. Anderson nodded to General Zardock, the Tsinkethi commander. Ready? Zardock's mandibles clicked. Born ready, human. The dropship slammed onto the rocky terrain. Hatches hissed open, and the strike team poured out into chaos. Rhodes's defenders had spotted their approach, and the air filled with plasma bolts and tracer fire. Anderson ducked behind a boulder, returning fire. To his left, a Tsinkethi warrior unleashed a barrage from a weapon that spat globules of molten metal. The base's outer defenses melted under the assault. Push forward, Anderson roared, vaulting over his cover. The combined human Tsinkethi force advanced, their disparate fighting styles meshing with surprising efficiency. Anderson watched as a human sniper and Tsinkethi spotter worked in tandem, picking off defenders on the ramparts. A massive explosion rocked the compound. Anderson's second-in-command, Lieutenant Davis, had breached the main gate. As Davis waved the vanguard forward, a hail of enemy fire erupted from a hidden bunker. Davis, get down! Anderson shouted, but it was too late. The lieutenant crumpled, blood blossoming across his chest. A blur of motion caught Anderson's eye. The Tsinkethi medic, Azara, darted across the battlefield. Plasma bolts sizzled past her head as she reached Davis, dragging him behind a wrecked vehicle. Anderson provided covering fire, marveling at the alien's bravery. Azara worked swiftly, her extra pair of arms allowing her to both tend to Davis's wounds and return fire. He'll live, Azara hissed as Anderson joined them. Now let's finish this. The strike team pushed deeper into the compound. Fanatical cultists threw themselves at the intruders, screaming about human destiny and cosmic power. Anderson's rifle ran hot as he cut them down, trying not to think about how many were former comrades in arms. In the heart of the base, they found Rhodes hunched over a massive control panel. The stolen dark matter bombs pulsed with malevolent energy behind him. It's over, Rhodes, Anderson called out. Stand down. Rhodes sneered, his finger hovering over a glowing red button. You're too late. I'll reduce this entire continent to cosmic dust before I let you. A gunshot rang out. Rhodes staggered, clutching his shoulder. Behind him stood Dr. Cole, his face a mask of anguish and commitment. "No more," Cole whispered. He turned to the control panel, fingers flying across the keys. Rhodes lunged for him with a roar of rage. Cole stood his ground, grappling with the madman. "Go!" he shouted to Anderson. "I've disabled the trigger, but the fail-safes—" The control panel erupted in a shower of sparks. Cole and Rhodes vanished in a blinding flash of light. Alarms blared throughout the facility. "This place is gonna blow," Zardoc growled. "We need to move." Anderson hesitated for a moment, staring at the spot where Cole had stood. Then he shook himself. "Grab those bombs and fall back. Double time." The strike team retreated, lugging the deactivated dark matter weapons. As they loaded onto the dropships, the base imploded behind them, collapsing in on itself like a miniature black hole. In the uneasy quiet of the journey home, Anderson found himself seated across from Ajara. The Tsinkethi medic cradled Davis's unconscious form, monitoring his vitals. "Thank you," Anderson said softly, "for saving him." Ajara's alien features were unreadable, but her voice held a note of warmth. "We fought well together today, human. Perhaps there is hope for us yet." As the dropships streaked towards the distant Earth, carrying their cargo of secured weapons and fragile trust, Ambassador Zara's words echoed in Anderson's mind. A chance for peace, however slim, now lay before them. But in the depths of space, Emperor Vortis's battlecruiser hung in the shadows of a gas giant. Inside his war room, holograms flickered with schematics of new and terrifying weapons. "Basilisk's intel has proven invaluable," Vortis purred to his assembled generals. "Soon the galaxy will tremble before our might." "Might?" Vortis's eyes gleamed with malevolent anticipation. The Emperor's words were cut short as alarms blared throughout the ship. A junior officer burst into the war room, scales pale with fear. "My Emperor, we've detected a massive quantum surge from Earth." Vortis whirled, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Explain!" "It appears to be Basilisk's intel, sir. The humans have deployed their remaining dark matter arsenal through some kind of amplification device." The war room erupted in chaos as tactical displays lit up with cascading spatial anomalies. Vortis watched in stunned silence as entire Tsinkethi fleets vanished into newly formed singularities. On Earth, General Wilson stood rigidly before a bank of monitors, his face etched with grim drive. The synchronized detonations had worked better than they dared hope, but at a terrible cost. "Sir," a technician called out, voice quavering, "the spatial disruptions, they're penetrating our defensive perimeter." Wilson's eyes widened as he saw the truth of it. Dark, swirling vortices were materializing in Earth's atmosphere, growing larger by the second. "My God," he whispered, "what have we done?" In the heart of the Pentagon, Captain Anderson led a team through winding corridors. They reached a high-security wing where Colonel Briggs was being held. Two guards snapped to attention. "At ease," Anderson growled. "We need to speak with the prisoner." Inside the cell, Briggs sat motionless, his human facade a mask of eerie calm. Anderson's fist clenched as he faced the Tsinkethi spy. "You got what you wanted," Anderson spat. "Both our worlds are on the brink of annihilation. Happy now?" Briggs tilted his head, alien mannerisms seeping through. "An unfortunate miscalculation. Neither side was meant to wield such power." Before Anderson could respond, the building shook violently. Emergency klaxons wailed as chunks of ceiling crashed down around them. "We're out of time," Anderson barked to his team. "Secure the prisoner. We're evacuating." As they hustled Briggs through crumbling hallways, a shimmering figure materialized before them. Ambassador Zara, her energy form pulsing with urgency. "Captain," she intoned, "the fabric of space-time is unraveling. You must convince your leaders to work with the Tsinkethi. It's our only hope." Anderson's fist tight. "After everything they've done, you can't be serious." Zara's form flickered. "The alternative is extinction for all. Choose wisely, Captain." She vanished, leaving Anderson to contemplate her words as they raced towards an uncertain future. In orbit, the remnants of Earth's fleet engaged in a desperate holding action against the encroaching singularities. Aboard the flagship, General Wilson received an incoming transmission. Emperor Vortis's scaled visage filled the screen, his usual arrogance replaced by grim pragmatism. "General," Vortis hissed, "it seems our war has unleashed forces beyond either of our control." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "So it would appear. My scientists believe we can deploy stabilizing quantum fields to contain the worst of the damage, but we lack the resources to do so alone." "You're proposing an alliance?" Wilson asked incredulously. Vortis's mandibles twitched. "A temporary cooperation, nothing more, for the sake of both our species." Wilson weighed the options, acutely aware of the dwindling time. With a heavy sigh, he nodded. "Transmit your data. We'll begin preparations immediately." As the transmission ended, Wilson turned to his assembled staff. "I never thought I'd say this, but prep our ships for joint operations with the Tsenkethi, and someone get me Captain Anderson. We're going to need his team for this." Outside, the swirling vortices grew ever larger, reality itself seeming to warp and twist. The fate of two civilizations now hung on the slim hope of cooperation between bitter enemies. The cascading singularities tore through space-time, devouring planets and warping reality itself. On the bridge of Earth's flagship, General Wilson's face was ashen as he watched the horrifying spectacle unfold. "Status report," he barked. A young lieutenant's voice quavered. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Centauri colonies. The moon, it's gone." Wilson's fist clenched. "And the quantum stabilization fields?" Dr. Novak, disheveled and exhausted, shook her head. "They're barely holding, General. These vortices, they're evolving, resisting our efforts." The view screen flickered, revealing Emperor Vortis's scaled visage. The Tsenkethi leader's usual arrogance had vanished, replaced by fierce dedication. "General," Vortis hissed, "our scientists have confirmed your findings. The anomalies are gaining sentience." Wilson nodded grimly. "Then we need to escalate our efforts. What do you propose?" Before Vortis could respond, a shimmering figure materialized on the bridge. Ambassador Zara, her energy form pulsing with urgency. "Gentlemen," she intoned, "the Galactic Council has made a decision. We must act now to save the cosmos." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Zara's form flickered. "We possess technology to shift entire regions of space into subdimensions. It's our only option to contain this threat." "Madness," Vortis snarled. "You would condemn whole star systems?" "The alternative is universal annihilation," Zara countered. Wilson's mind raced, weighing impossible choices. "How many worlds would we lose?" "Dozens," Zara admitted, "but billions more would be saved." The bridge erupted in heated debate. Wilson locked eyes with Vortis on the display, a moment of understanding passing between former enemies. "We can't allow this," Wilson said quietly. Vortis nodded. "For once human, we agree." But their protests fell on deaf ears. Across the galaxy, alien armadas were already moving into position. Energy readings spiked as the subdimensional shift began. "All ships, brace for impact," Wilson roared. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. A blinding flash engulfed the view screen. When it faded, Wilson stared in horror at the changed starfield before him. Entire constellations had vanished, along with the roiling vortices that had threatened to consume all. An eerie silence settled over the bridge. "Damage report," Wilson whispered. The young lieutenant's voice cracked. "Sir, we've lost everything beyond the Kuiper Belt. All our colonies, outposts." Wilson sagged in his chair, the weight of countless lives lost pressing down upon him. On the display, he saw Vortis's shoulders slump in similar defeat. "What now?" the Tsenkethi Emperor asked, his usual bluster gone. Before Wilson could respond, a priority transmission cut through the somber quiet. It was a joint statement from the remaining galactic powers, calling for an immediate summit. Wilson straightened, squaring his shoulders. "Now we pick up the pieces and ensure this never happens again. As the battered Earth fleet limped towards the rendezvous point, Wilson gazed out at the altered cosmos. The stars seemed colder now, more distant. But perhaps, in the face of such loss, a new era of cooperation could arise from the ashes of their shattered empires. The accord ceremony unfolded with somber gravity. General Wilson stood rigidly beside Emperor Vortis, their faces etched with the weight of countless lives lost. As they prepared to ratify the ban on dark matter weapons, Wilson's gaze swept across the assembled dignitaries. Ambassador Zara's energy form pulsed softly nearby, while Dr. Novak fidgeted with her datapad. Captain Anderson maintained a watchful eye from his position near the entrance, ever vigilant. The air crackled with tension as Vortis raised a scaled hand to sign the document. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted at the far end of the chamber. Wilson's battle-honed instincts kicked in before his mind could process the danger. "Get down!" he roared, lunging towards Novak. The world exploded into chaos. Multiple dark matter vortices ripped through the room, their inky tendrils lashing out with devastating force. Wilson's body slammed into Novak, shielding her as debris rained down around them. Through the maelstrom, he glimpsed Emperor Vortis being consumed by a swirling singularity. The Tzenkethi leader's final cry was lost in the cacophony of destruction. Ambassador Zara's containment field flickered and failed. The alien's energy form destabilized, merging with the unleashed vortices in a spectacular light show. "Status report!" Wilson bellowed, struggling to his feet. Pain lanced through his body, but he pushed it aside. Anderson's voice crackled over the comm, barely audible above the din. "Multiple detonations, sir. It's Rhodes. He's got a stockpile of dark matter warheads." Wilson cursed, helping Novak to her feet. "Casualties?" "Too many to count," Anderson replied grimly. "And, sir, the vortices are expanding, fast." As if to emphasize the point, the very air seemed to ripple and tear. Wilson watched in horror as entire sections of the room began to warp and twist, folding in on themselves like paper caught in a cosmic shredder. "My God," Novak whispered, her face ashen. "The dimensional barriers are collapsing." Through the fractured windows, Wilson saw the nightmarish spectacle unfolding across the landscape. Stars, nebulae, and alien vistas bled into one another, creating a kaleidoscopic hellscape that defied comprehension. "We need to evacuate," Wilson growled, pushing aside the searing pain in his chest. "Anderson, get to the command center. Coordinate with whatever's left of our fleet. We need to—" His words were cut short as another tremor shook the building. Reality itself seemed to heave and buckle. Wilson stumbled, nearly losing his footing. "Sir!" Anderson's voice crackled with urgency. "We're picking up massive energy readings. It's consuming everything." Wilson's mind raced, grasping for options in the face of cosmic annihilation. What about the Galactic Council? Surely they have some fail-safe. Novak shook her head, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and scientific fascination. "This is beyond anything we've encountered. The very fabric of space-time is unraveling." As if to punctuate her words, a nearby wall simply ceased to exist. In its place, a swirling vortex of otherworldly energies pulsed and writhed. Wilson caught glimpses of impossible landscapes, alien worlds, and the cold void of deep space all bleeding together. "We need to move," he barked, grabbing Novak's arm. "Now!" They sprinted through the disintegrating building, narrowly avoiding collapsing floors and erupting singularities. Wilson's injuries screamed in protest, but he pushed on, half dragging Novak behind him. They burst onto a terrace overlooking the city. What greeted them defied description. The sky above was a churning maelstrom of cosmic forces. Entire star systems hung suspended in the air, while the ground below fractured into islands of reality, drifting in a sea of dimensional flux. "Anderson," Wilson rasped into his comm, "tell me you've got something." Static crackled, then the captain's voice came through. "Sir, we've got a stasis chamber prepped. It's our only shot at surviving. Whatever this is." Wilson's eyebrows furrowed. He looked at Novak, saw the same unwavering perseverance in her eyes. "Send coordinates. We're on our way." As they raced towards what might be their last hope, the universe around them continued to tear itself apart. The boundaries between all realities crumbled, leaving them adrift in a cosmic storm of unimaginable proportions.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.